It's truck season at A.J. Doman Chevrolet. Save thousands of all remaining 24 models and get financing as low as 5.9 for 84 months. Looking for a commercial truck? Come see us. We're your local Business Elite dealer with a huge selection of work-ready trucks in stock. No credit, bad credit, upside down. We say yes when others say no. A.J. Doman Chevrolet at the foot of the Morgan City Bridge in Berwick.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terraborn Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And whenever we talk waterworks, whenever we talk about anything that impacts or touches our water, we go to one source. That's Michael Sobar. Thank you for joining us
Keith,
today.
good morning. Always a pleasure. Thank you,
we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so you guys have been doing a lot of work, really evaluating and assessing where we are with some of these EPA standards. You do it all the time.
Yes, sir.
But we've got some new guidelines coming out, something we always need to check on.
Yeah, it's kind of the same old problem, lead in the drinking water, and new ways to try and remove it and keep it removed.
Right.
The Environmental Protection Agency in 2022 let the water industry know that they were going to be formulating new rules for all of us to follow as far as lead and copper in the drinking water was concerned.
Right.
On October the 16th of this year, 2024, the final rules were published.
Okay.
And now we know what we're supposed to do, and we've already made our first submittal 8 days after they finally finalized the rule. So we good.
And what that means is y'all have done that first submittal, meaning y'all have taken care of things.
That's
because y'all started working on this years ago.
We have over 5,000 hours man engineering, 5-hour man engineering hours involved in this project right now.
Wow. Very, very nice.
And as sometimes the federal government does, they give you mandates but don't tell you how to pay for it.
Right, sure.
This is
do all this.
That's right. This is one of those.
Yeah,
but we're ready for it. We're ready for it.
We like it. So we want to go through this. Jay, if you'll pull it up. This is the EPA lead and copper rule and talking about the old. I love the suggestion here. It's an old problem with some new solutions.
Correct.
We're working on. All right.
So originally, actually, this is the 50th year of the Safe Drinking Water Act being signed and put into law in the United States of America by the U.S. Congress and the EPA.
From 1974.
1974. 50 years ago that was put in. And that rule did a lot of things just starting to set the baseline for what the drinking water standards would be.
Right.
The next thing kind of came around is 1986 when, like government does, this is good, but let me tell you how we can make it better.
Right.
And so in 1986, they put out some amendments and started changing some of the things that we should do and be prepared to do to make sure that lead is taken out of or not even put in to anything that drinking water goes into. And then, of course, in 1992, they weren't happy with what they did. 8 years before, they decided to add a little bit more, and that did it, and that's really when the earnest push of starting to test for and finding and removing lead occurred, 1992.
Right.
And then, of course, the real kicker that just kind of broke the camel's back, if I may, was 2014, Flint, Michigan.
Right, when we had that incident
and I will talk about that.
Right.
And on October the 8th of this year, as we mentioned earlier, the next set of rules has come out, and that's with how we got to where we are today.
This is where we are now.
To even talk more about
Gotcha.
it. Okay.
Very good. All right, go ahead, Jake.
So we mentioned about 74 being the 25th year, and basically what it did was it just set the ground rules.
Okay.
You know, this is what we expect. This is the chlorination. This is the bacteria. This is all these kinds of things we want to do. And while you add it, you might want to look at lead.
Right.
Because let's not forget, Keith, all of the lead has been a problem for a long time.
Right.
It's a wonderful material, but it comes with some problems.
Right.
Those who might be a little maybe born in the last century, so to speak, will remember when it first started with the lead paint chips falling off that children consumed, and finally led to where they said, whoa, wait a second, this is really hurting young children growing up with lead. And then, of course, we had the Clean Air Act about removing lead from gasoline.
Yes, right.
So now when we talk about acid rain, well, that's because of all the,
Right.
you know, that's
Lead
what was
in the
happening. That's
atmosphere.
correct.
Right.
And then, of course, now with Flint, Michigan, it switched back over to water.
To water, right.
So 84 added some other restrictions coming on.
Right.
Really kind of minor compared to where we are today. And the same thing in 94. But I want to talk a little bit about 94 because that's when they started giving us some real numbers to shoot for.
Okay.
And some real, if you don't do this, you will be out of compliance.
Right.
And we reacted as a waterworks back then by doing several things. First one, if you put the next on of it, it's got pictures of it.
Okay.
First one all the way to the left is it's called Sequest, and it is a corrosion inhibitor.
Yep.
And we add that to the water. It's National Science Foundation 61 standard approved.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
You know, I don't want to get into conspiracy theory about fluoride and all that stuff.
Right.
This is the real
Right,
deal. And
right.
basically what it does is it coats the insides of the pipes to keep whatever's on the outside of the pipe, like the material, lead,
Right.
from getting into the drinking water.
Into the drinking water
And
on the
we've
inside of
been
the pipe.
using this for a long time.
Right. And so again, you can see the other things that
Yeah, the next thing is it's not an erector set for grown-ups. It's actually a coupon rack.
Right.
And what happens is the water runs through that all the time, 24/7.
Right.
And inside of it is some little metal pieces.
Okay.
That we go by every 60 days, take it out, bring it to the lab, they clean it up, and then they weigh it.
Okay.
And they say, wait a second, it went in at 1, and now it's only 0.9. We got some corrosion going on.
we can see that it's
And then,
breaking
so
down.
either
Gotcha.
we up the rate of what corrosion inhibitor is, or we go look for some other problems.
Wow. So we'll take this as kind of a stopping
Yes,
point,
sir.
which is a really good aspect of knowing where we are for some of the things that were recommended in 92 about what we can do with these corrosion
And we've done them all.
inhibitors. And we've done
we
it.
were so good that we were placed on reduced monitoring.
Oh, wow.
Like we proved already
Right.
we don't have lead.
We don't have it, which
That's
is
correct.
good. All right, guys, we're going to take a short break. Do that with us. We'll be right back with Mike Sober talking about the value of clean water and what we have in our area. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad to be joined by Michael Sober with Terrebonne Parish Waterworks. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Always a pleasure. Thank you,
All right.
sir.
So we were talking about how we figured out what things were going wrong. Let's talk about Flint, Michigan and what
Okay.
it taught us.
So in 2014, the headlines were all about Flint, Michigan.
Yep.
Flint, Michigan, their problem was they were buying water from the city of Detroit, which raw water came from Lake Huron.
Right.
They were trying to save money because they were
So
buying
you do.
expensive.
Yeah, because people say you got to
That's
do
right.
this, but
That's
you
exactly
got to
right.
figure out how to pay for it.
So they decided they would go to the Flint River. Not a problem. The problem was the Flint River was more acidic than Lake Huron.
Lake Huron.
And they didn't realize it. And so older cities, particularly those who were maybe grew or started off in the early 1900s, lead was a very common way to transport water. And so they had lead pipes. Well, when you take lead pipes and you put it in acid, the lead leaches out and gets into the water and absorbed. Then particularly young children drink the water, then there's developmental problems and
Right.
perhaps brain damage, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera.
Right.
That's a no-no. Nobody wants that.
No, absolutely
And
not.
so after we're in the 50th year of the Safe Drinking Water Act. We're to the point now where EPA says enough's enough. I don't know if we can do everything else, but we're going to sure put the onus on the water districts to take care of this stuff.
Right. Get rid of
And
it.
so they came out with new rules, which are effective October the 8th.
October
The
8th,
first
2 weeks ago,
submittal was
right.
done October the 16th. So the new rules say to basically do this. One, you have to submit an inventory of all your service lines in your district.
Oh,
And we did that. That's over 50,000
Yeah,
for us.
good Lord.
Okay?
Yeah.
Over 50,000. It doesn't say that you have to tell them what it is, but you have to say and acknowledge we have this many service lines
Right.
and they're located here.
Here, right.
All right?
Okay.
Then now the second thing you have to do within 30 days of giving us a list,
Okay.
you have to tell your customers what's going on.
Right. This is what
So
we're doing.
that would be November the 15th because we submitted to the portal one day in advance.
Right.
And so now we've already done that. All of our customers should have received a letter in the mail addressed to them, addressed with an address that they get their water from.
Mm-hmm.
And in there, it's going to tell you what's going on.
Right.
So it's going to tell you on that letter that there's a QR code. If you
Right.
know how to do that, scan that.
Right.
It's going to take you to all the information on our website.
Right.
It's going to take you a map. It's going to take you right to your house and say, we don't know what your service line is. If you know, be kind enough and tell us.
Right.
Okay? And so all of the information is online, on our website, on any of the links that are in that letter to them.
Right.
In
And they're right
addition
there.
to that, the second page, the middle and the one to the right, give you some helpful hints and tell you all of this that I'm telling you right now.
Right.
This is what's going on.
And again, you're just telling us this is the history.
That's exactly
This is
right.
how we got here. This is
That's
what we're
right.
doing moving
That's
forward.
right. And the work that we're doing is important.
Mm.
So important that the federal government has made us do it. We are mandated to do this.
Okay.
So to keep our licenses and to be up and everything like that, we're doing what they want us to do.
Right.
And it's also going to benefit the customers.
Right.
So in addition to that, so we've said it, we've told the government what we got, we're telling you what we got. And the third thing is, and we've done that also, a website with a map that you can go in and verify all of this.
Right.
Okay, so we've already done what we know we're supposed to do. Now, statistically, the state of Michigan, of course, which Flint is in, and the state of Ohio, which is right next to
door,
them,
right.
they've been at the forefront in saying, hey, tell me how many water services you got, and I'm going to tell you statistically how many you got to go dig up and put your eyes on and then certify
Right.
it is what it is.
Right. Go verify
And
that
for
this is
us,
it.
that's going to be 381. So
Our
we are
number's
going to go out
381.
in Terrebonne Parish and dig up 381 service lines and look at it and say, that's galvanized, that's copper, that's PVC, that's PEX. That's what we're going to
Right.
do.
Go and
we're going
verify
to
the
report
line.
that. That is correct.
Right.
And
And so that's
they
381
want,
of
that's
the
right. And I
50,000.
have to sign that certificate saying that we put our eyes on it and
Right.
we testify that this is what it is.
Right.
Okay. Now, what happens if we find one? I don't think we will, but let's
Right.
just say we do.
Right.
Then we start all over again.
Okay.
Then they will statistically give us 381 addresses, and we will go back out again and dig up 381.
Because we have to look per percentage
That's correct.
of making
Yeah,
sure.
it's a statistical deal.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Of that 50,000 that you had to submit
that's
originally.
what it is.
And y'all have already done the beginning of that.
We've done that.
Yeah.
We're
So-
waiting on our list of 381 to take that next phase. Now, if we find, and in the first 381, which if I was a betting man, I would bet that we're not going to find
None.
any.
Right.
Then we're finished.
Right,
Thank you
we're
very
done.
much. It's been nice. We
Right.
move on.
Right.
If we find one, or if we can't get it all done, then every year for 10 years, I have to keep sending this notice
381.
out and
Right.
keep trying
To
to
do a
tell you
381.
what's going on, updating the map,
Right.
doing all those kinds of things.
So we don't want people to be surprised
Nope.
when we have
Nope.
to come and
Guy out
dig
there with
those
a
lines.
shovel, what
Guy with a
line?
shovel from the.
He's
right.
with us. Don't
He's-
worry about it.
He's with
They will
Waterworks.
be identified.
Right.
We hope that once we get that list, that we will be able to populate it to the public and
Right.
tell them in advance,
Yeah, this
hey,
is where
this
we're going.
coming, we're coming to you.
This is what we're going to do.
And if you don't get one from us, then we ain't coming.
Yeah, we're not coming near you,
Right.
which is
So
good.
that's what
So, well, thank you, Mike, for all the hard
Always.
work. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
years of service
Appreciate
and
it.
for keeping us safe and keeping our water safe.
All our pleasure.
And
That's what
hopefully
we do.
figuring out that we don't have any lead. That's
We'll
going to be the
prove
wish.
it. We'll prove it.
We'll prove it. I
Thank you
like
so
it. Very
much,
good.
Keith. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. But don't go anywhere. A whole lot more Bayou time when we continue.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.